please. Step back, please. Please stay behind the yellow line. Step back, please. Step back, please.
Yellow line, buddy.
Step back, please.
I've been in Japan long enough to know that there are young people that truly value the African American hip hop experience. And you can go to certain types of productions or entertainment events where you can see things from guys bouncing basketballs or kicking soccer balls to old hip hop songs or mimicking our dances to the point where they're doing them as well or better than us. But in order to see this true part of the hip hop experience, you'll have to do some research, and you probably need to put some time into learning the language. You've heard me argue at length for why guys who want to be passport bros should put in time to learn the language, and my argument can be made with this video. Look at the audience watching this particular event. It's a very large number of young ladies. Of course, they're engaged and they're having a good time, but first of all, you have to find the event. Or better yet, you have to be invited to it. And then you have to be someone that is cool enough to be allowed there because they know you know how to act. And then there's just the fact that you get to be a part of it and you get to witness people doing hip hop. This is not something that you find if you're just looking for the surface level experience in a country.
عشان كذي اليابانيين يتشكون من السياح.
You can't do that.
شوفوا 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 شوفوا.
You can't do that. Oh my goodness. That's so rude.
With the weekend, many people have flocked to Japan to experience the allure of a country that they've seen in film and on television shows or even depicted in manga. And one thing we see quite a bit is that there is a Western arrogance that says that I get to do what I want, and it's causing some people in Kyoto in particular to grow weary of people not observing the way that people have traditionally done things. And this is an unfortunate part of the Western experience because we think I'm me, I can do what I want. And in the West, it works fine. But there's a mentality that many of us are carrying overseas, and I'm partially guilty of it myself, and I had to learn from it, is that we expect the world to change for us. And that's just not the case everywhere. It's an attitude that some of us probably need to leave at home.
This may not aggravate a lot of you, but it does aggravate me since I've been in Japan for so long. It's when they have a foreigner work at a place like this Larson. Now this Larson is one of the worst out of all the places I go to. You walk in as a foreigner, they don't know you, but they start speaking Japanese to you. And you speak English to them, and they continue insisting on speaking Japanese. If you ask them about it, they'll say, oh, koko wa Nihon, this is Japan. Well, I'm sorry, I just heard you speaking to your co-worker in your language. You don't know that I speak Japanese. Stop it. Speak Japanese to Japanese. So I just had this case with this girl here, and they insist on keep speaking Japanese. Now, in addition to that, there's a line of 3 or 4 people behind us, and I hear her speaking Japanese to them, and her Japanese isn't as bad as mine, but I mean, come on. Speak English to the foreigners, and speak Japanese to the Japanese. Stop trying to treat me like I'm Japanese from the get-go when you don't know who I am. Foreigners walk in, you don't know if I'm a tourist. Treat me like a tourist. Speak English.
This video is a good illustration, in my opinion, of what happens when we take our Western sensibilities abroad. We simply think, hey, just speak English to me because it's obvious that I'm an English speaker. But what's not obvious is that these convenience stores are full of cameras, and these people that are coming from Southern Asia are probably being monitored, and they probably are afraid that they might lose their job if they start speaking in English because they're not supposed to do that. Or better yet, maybe they're just not very confident in their English. But what is clear in this particular point of view is that it's me-centric. He's not considering the point of view of the people around him. And unfortunate for us as black men, we may not get as many of the mistakes that other races get simply because we don't have as much grace. And I know someone who knows precisely how to speak to that.
We gotta talk, yes, about passport bros. And to be honest, this is something that is beyond concern to me. I've always been concerned, honestly, about parts of the movement and particular representatives of the movement. But now at this point, I'm just gonna say passport bros are making it harder for brothers to travel overseas, specifically brothers who are unemployed. And the reason why I say this isn't because of everyone. It isn't because of the so-called heads of passport bros. You got Austin Holloman, for instance. He, to his credit, has grown up. Well, he still has some growing to do, let's be honest. But he is now even seeing how brothers, particularly passport bro brothers who act like being part of the passport bros is being part of the go along and get along gang, or just some sort of gang in general, because they can't drop their baby kid nonsense from the United States. I said before in my video, if you gotta keep that baby kid swag about you and that gang, all that bull crap, stay your ass home.
This is Xanatos Clutch, and he's speaking about the image that many passport bros are taking abroad with them. And it's an unfortunate kind of paradox because it is this very culture that many of us are looking to avoid and get away from. And all the while, many young guys are taking that culture as their identity overseas. And for some guys who may be a bit older or maybe a bit more square, they're starting to notice that there's pushback in some of these countries.
But what they are doing is showing the light on how the average passport bro is rocking in this country. And it's not rocking at all. It's rapping, it's trapping, it's swagging, it's sagging your pants, acting like you're still trying to impress Keisha. Well, as I said before, you do not need to carry your baby kid ways and have swag and drop your pants, do all this nonsense in order to get the favor and curry of a female overseas. Especially in the places where some of you guys are going, like you passport bros cannot stop going to hip hop nightclubs. Notice that every single time a passport bro gets caught up in the crossfire, 90% of the time, if you listen to their stories, it almost always involves, well, we was in the club and...
This is an example of a poster that will be an advertisement for one of the events that you would have seen earlier in this video. And the thing about these kinds of events is that you're not going to be invited to them walking along the street. They're somewhat exclusive, so 9 times out of 10, at least the way that I was invited to them, was that I went to certain places where guys who really liked hip hop were, that spoke Japanese, and I spoke Japanese with them. They tap me on the shoulder and say, we're having an event next week, we would like you to come. And that's simple. You go there and it looks very much like the videos that you saw, with a lot of young, very cute young ladies there watching and cheering on people that are performing on the stage. And the funny thing about all of this is that the access is there if you do the things necessary to integrate into the culture. Learn the language, learn the culture, and then you can experience their form of hip hop in a way that is not just wholesome, but it will open your eyes and help you appreciate that other cultures do hip hop in a much safer, more sanitized way than we do it, without dragging our culture into the gutter, unfortunately. The point that Xanatos Clutch is making, and I second, is that many young guys are quote unquote thugmaxxing as a way of being a passport bro. And of course you have the liberty to do this, but as black men who may want to get away from some of that culture, we have to be stewards of our image. And that of course means that many of the stereotypes that we are leaving behind, we have to be aware of not carrying them with us. Because as a diverse group of guys, some of us are geeky, some of us are to ourselves, some of us are all kinds of different ideas of black men. And if the idea of the commonly practiced thug behavior stays on the internet and it gets reproduced in local areas, then thugmaxxing is going to backfire on all of us. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. Catch you in the next video. Take care.